Okay, Carnivore 101, how to get started on a carnivore diet. What does that even mean? And before you press stop, because you think this name is like scary and the carnivore people are weird, I'm going to share some things with you that will help you thrive and really go from surviving to thriving wherever you are, whatever you want to follow. But there's a couple things that we need to do today to really change our health. And I don't care what age you are, you can change the way your body feels, the way your mental health is, and the way you look at any age. So before we even dive into what the carnivore diet is, here's 3 things that you can do immediately to start feeling better. And this is also what I share with people to ease their way into the carnivore diet. I went cold turkey, which I'll share with you. And a lot of people can't do that. So if you're not thriving and you're eating the standard American diet, here's a couple things you can do. Number 1, get rid of the packaged and processed foods. Give yourself 6 weeks to not have any packaged and processed foods that are loaded with sugar and seed oils, toxins, and food dyes. No packaged foods. You're eating, if it comes from the earth, if it walks, it has a face, that's what you're eating, okay? So that's going to be huge. Number 2, focus and prioritize protein, specifically animal protein. And let me tell you why. Animal protein, specifically red meat, is more nutrient dense and bioavailable than any plant food, than any other food that you can get. So when you eat that first, not only is it sending a message to your brain that you're getting these nutrients because it is so bioavailable, it starts to shut the stomach off. It keeps you satiated, it keeps you full, it prevents you from overeating, it prevents you from grabbing the carbs and the sugar that you crave. So as a family, we always prioritize protein. My kids can't eat anything else until they eat their protein first because, 1, it saves us a lot of money because then they're not eating more junk, and it really has made a big difference in their behavior and their ability to thrive as well. So protein first. That can be red meat, that can be chicken, fish, shrimp, eggs, turkey. Focus on protein. Okay, next tip is to focus on good animal fats. Butter, ghee, those are 2 that we use in our house every day. We also made beef tallow. I have a recipe on my Instagram. Super easy and so affordable. It's ridiculous. We've been slathering it on our steaks. I cooked eggs and sausage this morning and put beef tallow, and then we had some good local farm fresh sausage and also some local eggs. And so we did that this morning with a side of berries for my kids. And it's been awesome to really focus on the good fats. Where did we come from? Think about ancestral living and the way our ancestors used to eat, right? These are good fats. So if you want to keep other fats in there, maybe you still keep in some avocados and egg yolks. Don't be afraid of the egg yolks. They're so nutrient dense. And along the way, we've just gotten so much poor information about food. And I want to dispel those myths. And I will be doing that a lot on my Instagram, but focus on good fats, good healthy fats. You can do cheese as well, or yogurt. A lot of people are so afraid of dairy and they think that's the culprit, where really it's the processed packaged seed oil, sugar, and grains. So focus on good fats. If you are to do dairy, I think the quality of dairy really matters. But a lot of people find that when they pull out the packaged and processed and seed oils and sugars and grains, that they actually can have dairy. So we try to focus on raw dairy or good raw cheeses or yogurts. Greek yogurt is a good one, so you can focus there, right? Okay, last thing is, and I alluded to this, remove the grains. You would be shocked at what these grains are doing to your GI system. Are you bloated all the time? Do you have any type of hormonal issues or female issues? A lot of times grains can be a huge culprit, and I didn't know that because I ate a lot of oatmeal in my past until I removed it. So there's a plethora of things that you can eat, right? If you're eating things from the ground that has a peel, pit, skin, face, focus there for the next, 2 to 6 weeks. And I also drink coffee every day. I drink coffee with heavy cream. I really try to stay away from any type of sugar because I suffered with an eating disorder for many, many years, and I'm very sugar sensitive. So I do have to watch the amount of fruit and the type of fruit that I eat because of my issues. But if you just start there and you truly prioritize protein and you cut out the junk food, the processed, the packaged, the seed oils, the sugars, and focus on good fat, you will be amazed at how you feel. I don't weigh or measure. Eating disorder wise is definitely not a great plan for me. And I focus on nutrient dense, bioavailable foods. And when I'm hungry, I eat. And when I'm not, I don't. And I always incorporate high protein, high fat in every meal, and it helps me feel satiated. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the carnivore diet and how did it even come about. I suffered with IBS. I suffered with SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. I have a background in nutrition. So I studied holistic and integrative nutrition. I owned a gym with my husband for 11 years. Our life has been focusing on nutrition. And because I suffered with eating disorder and disordered eating, and also mental health issues, I have always searched for optimal health. And we've always prioritized protein. But somewhere along the way, we decided to try out a vegan diet, mainly because of every course that we take was kind of alluding to that. A lot of the continuing education courses that we took and things like that. And so my husband and I tried it, and we can't speak about things unless we try them. And I tried to at least try things for a good 6 months to a year to be able to speak on them. Well, we had a lot of side effects from the vegan diet. And I was actually pretty consistent on it for about two to 3 years. My husband started seeing some negative health effects right away, mental health wise. So if you are thriving on a vegan diet, more power to you. We were really struggling. He was noticing mental health issues. I noticed a difference immediately, positively, because of removing all of the packaged and processed foods that we were kind of getting into. We had just moved to Louisiana and we're just not eating kind of as clean as we normally were. So I noticed a difference there. But we started to notice a couple of injuries when we were running. I had, sprained ankles that I'd never had before. I think I was definitely lacking the nutrients and the vitamins, and I could go on and on. This isn't to bash, the vegan diet at all. It was just that I was definitely deficient. I started experiencing anxiety that I hadn't in many, many years, and also had a lot of dental issues after a couple of years. And I feel like my kids are still kind of struggling with that a little bit. So my husband called me and he said, I really think you need to look into the carnivore diet. And I was at that point so bloated. I was so miserable with SIBO. I was spending hundreds of dollars on colonics. I was trying everything, and I wasn't eating the standard American diet, but I was deficient and I was sick. And I went cold turkey. So that's just kind of my personality. And I had read everything and I knew what I was going to experience. And so the reason I gave you the tips to start is because that is a great way to ease your way into the carnivore diet. When you start, if you're eating the standard American diet and you start to pull everything out, your body's going to freak out. It's not going to know what to do. And there's something called oxalate dumping. And oxalates, especially if you were like me and ate a lot of vegetables, oxalates are a plant's defense chemicals, right? And these oxalates can cause a lot of issues. Not only can they cause issues, but when you remove them completely, your body will start dumping those oxalates and you can have a lot of side effects. So I went cold turkey. And I just ate meat, water, and salt for 2 weeks. I was that miserable. And not only did I see results in my stomach and SIBO right away and felt good, but I also had side effects. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of those side effects. I did experience diarrhea for several weeks. The first 2 weeks, I think, were probably the worst. It wasn't to where I was like not able to go do anything, but it was off and on for about, I would say, 2 to 4 weeks because my body was detoxing and my body had not had this amount of meat and nutrients before. I also experienced a little bit of, they call it kind of like keto rash, where I was having these little bumps that I'd never had before on my back and skin. You couldn't really see them, but you could feel them. And it was my body detoxing that. And so some people, they can just eat a little bit of oxalates, believe it or not, to kind of make you feel a little bit better. Maybe you add a little squash or zucchini or cucumber. And I'm going to share with you the low oxalate foods that I think are or kind of not as many defense chemicals or not as many oxalates. So or a little dark chocolate, or you can eat some of that if you're feeling it. But if you slow your way into it, you may not experience these at all. And I'll kind of help you with slowly adapting to a carnivore diet. So once I went through that, I did go through some headaches. I did continue to keep coffee into my diet, and I still do. I'm a big coffee fan. I drink it with raw cream or whole cream, or half and half. But your body isn't fat adapted. And so it may be going into ketosis for the first time, and you're going to struggle with some of those things if you go cold turkey. I was ready for that. My body feels amazing today. I don't have the keto rash. I am fat adapted. I cannot believe the cravings that have completely gone away. I feel like I'm thriving in my 40s more than I ever did in my 30s. But I want to just be real with some of the side effects that you can feel, because vegetables do have a lot of defense chemicals. And so if you want to ease your way into this, I want you to think, and I'll put a chart below. There's really 4 different ways you can do it. Number 1 would be more animal-based, kind of like the tips I gave you in the beginning. How to get started, to slowly, especially if you have a lot of that in your diet already, or you were like me and you ate a lot of vegetables and a lot of seed oils. I would douse avocado oil on all of my vegetables, and I was having a lot of that. So you may want to take it a little bit easier. Or maybe you're like, I am not going to listen to you, crazy person. I am always going to eat vegetables. I'm going to share with you ones that are that have the least amount of oxalates and defense chemicals. But and I'll post another video on this. There's a lot to be said about oxalates and what it can do in your body. And I thought spinach was such a great thing, and I never realized why I was having so many issues. I was told that I had adenomyosis, which is endometriosis of the abdominal wall, that I needed a partial hysterectomy, that I had a tilted and enlarged uterus. I couldn't figure out the shooting pains, the bloating, and I'm like, I exercise, I'm a trainer, I eat right. Like, what is going on with me? Is this just my genetics? And I will tell you that that is all gone. And I was able to prevent surgery, thank goodness. And again, I don't have that pain. I reintroduced grains for the first time 2 weeks ago after a year. And I had the immediate bloat and stabbing, shooting pain where I was doubled over. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, this is where it came from, right? I didn't realize it was food that I was so sensitive to causing these issues. I remember riding bikes on the lakefront where we used to live, and stopping to talk to somebody and just having those pains and thinking like, I eat healthy, what is wrong with me? And it was the oxalates and the grains that my body doesn't do well with. And so this is a great optimal way of eating for me. But if you could ease your way into this and kind of see what works for you, where do you start? Start, like I said, with removing, and this would be kind of the animal-based diet, right? Start with removing the processed and packaged foods, the seed oils, the sugars, and I would say the grains. So you can eat anything from an animal, any fat from an animal. You can still keep your avocados in there. I don't do nuts and seeds anymore, but maybe your nuts and seeds are still in there. Anything from the ground and from the earth, your vegetables, your fruit, really focus there. And go a little bit of time reducing the sugar and trying to, get rid of some of the processed and sugar foods that you'll have. You will have some slight headaches and things like that from the sugar detox, okay? The next step, and I would include dairy on that, and try to get away from the nut milks, which we have been told that's so healthy, and really focus on whole foods from an animal, right? I would say focus there. The next thing that you can do is start to slowly detox the vegetables. Now, I want to share with you vegetables that have the least amount of oxalates, the least amount of defense chemicals. That would be any of your squashes. So you could do spaghetti squash, any type of squash, zucchini, and cucumber. Those are going to be, they're not nightshades, they're going to be lower in oxalate. I would say get the kale and spinach out almost immediately, especially if you're struggling with bloating or any type of issue. But you can slowly start weaning back on those so that you don't have that oxalate dump all at one time. So that could be another way you slowly move into it. As far as fruit and raw honey and things like that go, I think that's an individual choice. My children eat fruit. My husband eats fruit. That's his main source of carbohydrates. We really focus on berries because I feel like they don't overeat that. If I give them a bowl of grapes, or it's gone in 2 seconds, right? And so for me, having disordered eating and being a major sugar addict, I had to play around with fruit. So I was having it in my diet at first, but I will tell you this, when I have fruit or honey, I am immediately looking for like donuts or the next meal. And I had to eliminate it and bring it back to understand that that's what it is for me. My children do very well with it, and so does my husband. My husband also does well with sweet potatoes and rice. So you could slowly start to decrease the vegetables. And I know some of you that are watching this are like, oh my gosh, we have been told that vegetables are healthy our whole entire life. I'm not saying that you have to eliminate vegetables. I'm just saying do the research and look at the oxalate and look at the defense chemicals if you're having these issues. If you're thriving and you don't have the bloating and you have no weight to lose and you have no chronic issues, then keep doing what you're doing, because we all react differently. But those might be some things to look at. So what are you going to eat besides animal foods? Sweet potatoes, rice, squashes, and cucumber. And fruit. That's where you could focus on, but I would still say prioritize protein. And as you do that for a couple of weeks, then you can move into more of a carnivore-based diet. So then you've got carnivore and then strict carnivore, right? And then there's the lion diet, which is kind of like strict carnivore. So carnivore would be cutting out the vegetables. A lot of people still eat fruit and raw honey on carnivore, which is what my family does, which is what my kids do. And we do rice cakes and we do a little bit of rice and potatoes with them as well. They don't love potatoes, so we really focus on more fruit and rice. I do not, because it doesn't serve me well. But what you could do is keep the fruit in as your source of carbohydrate, maybe some raw honey, and as long as you're doing well with it, and then focus more on animal-based eating. So that's anything animal-based, right? That's turkey, chicken, fish, shrimp, beef, that sort of thing. Then there's more strict carnivore that you could move. And this could be something that you do a couple weeks a year. It could be a lifestyle. It could be a cleanse for you. That's why I love to explore this, because although I thrive eating that way, you can kind of come in and out of it as well, or find your way to it. So strict carnivore, which is what I did cold turkey, is just red meat, salt. So you're eliminating spices, you're eliminating vegetables, you're eliminating fruit, and all grains. And I focused on really eating beef to heal. What I loved is that I wasn't hungry. And I was eating steak and ground beef, and I am going to do a video on how to do it affordably, because you actually will save so much money eating this way, especially getting the packaged and processed out. But that could be a way that you end up, like I said, having it as a lifestyle, or it could be a 2-week thing or a cleanse. I then started adding in some raw dairy, which I seemed to be doing really well with, my cream. And then, I can get a little bit, I can overeat cheese a little bit. So I was making carnivore nachos and pork rinds. And although I was still thriving and not craving, I noticed that I didn't feel as good. So I'll kind of cut that. I'm right in the process right now of kind of cutting that back a little bit and kind of using it more as the weekends or things like that. So I do love that. A couple things that you can do if you're starting to feel these side effects is make sure that you've got electrolytes. I am a big believer in magnesium. Making sure you're salting your food. People are scared of salt. I use Redmond salt. I use like a Celtic salt as well, and I'll post that in the notes. But I am very sensitive to seasonings. Some people do really well with seasonings. That's kind of, you'll have to play around with that. But that would be more strict carnivore, and then you can kind of add some things back and see what works for you. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a perspective, because it doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, you only eat meat. Some people do, and it works for them and they thrive. Or you never eat a vegetable, or you never eat fruit, or you can really take this and figure out what works for your body. But bottom line, get out the packaged and processed foods. Get out the sugar and seed oils. Start to take a look at prioritizing protein. Start to just knowledge is power. Start to kind of inform yourself on this. And I'm going to try to bring you as much as I can on my Instagram page, from how my body changed to what we're doing with our kids and how we stay mentally healthy. But the anxiety, everything that I struggled with even last year is so much better. I'm excited to share my one thing. Okay, so I think everybody in America, Canada, wherever you live, needs an air fryer. And I'm going to put the brand of air fryer that we have down at the bottom here, but it makes life so easy. I make the best chicken wings in the air fryer. We can have awesome steaks. We can do so many things with our air fryer. Easy cleanup. Great with meats, great with any type of meats, and it's going to save you so much time in life. So if you do not have an air fryer, check this one out. You will love it, and that is my one thing. All right. Have an awesome and healthy day, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you. Bye.